Hello, planet Earth.
Hi, honey.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730.
My BFF Jill 730.
I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations as always. You've made your way to the Buffyngton Post. Today I'll be taking a break from the Buffyverse to give you my thoughts on Westworld Season 2, Episode 1, Its Journey into Night. Here we go.
Don't make a lot of noise.
I know my parents loved me. Stand behind me, come what may. I know now that I'm ready, yeah. For I finally heard him say, it's a different world, than where you come from. The city is now, yeah. Here's our chance to make it. And if we don't let on our goal, you can decide, we can make it. Hey, just remember that you and two. It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world than where you come from. Ooh, than where you come from.
Our world.
Okay, so, I was doing Westworld reviews all through Season 1. I was very excited about it. It's very like, oh, what's up in your fucking head? Yeah, and then at Episode 9 and going into 10, it took me a really long time to, like, actually get back and make my review for the finale. I don't even think I reviewed Episode 9, but whatever, because basically I was ruined. Like, all of the, like, me spending time on YouTube and, like, looking at different theories and all that good stuff, it just, it ruined everything for me, because we all knew what the punchlines were going to be, and, like, whoop-de-doo, we were right. And so the show wasn't able to really surprise me in any kind of, big ways. The stuff with Maeve toward the end of Season 1 was really fun, and I thought that really did kind of pay off. But as far as, like, Dolores and Wyatt, and it's like, it's all, like, get to the inside of your head so you can hear your own voice. Like, it's fine. Like, it was pretty obvious, and even if it wasn't obvious, like what I would really say about Season 1, I know I'm talking about Season 1 and not Season 2, but we'll get to it. But Season 1, I think it is a binge show. I think you need to binge it. I don't think it is meant to be watched episode by episode on a weekly basis. I think it's really meant for you to just cram it all in and fucking deal.
No interruptions.
And so that's my big criticism of Season 1, is that if you're just binging it, you don't have time to kind of pick it apart and look at what's wrong and look at what doesn't make sense, and you can just kind of like fly through it. Because I binged it a few weeks ago. Well, I guess about a month and a half ago now, honestly. But yeah, I watched episodes 1 to 10 over the course of about 3 days, and it was just like very, very concise and fun to watch and revisit. Whereas if you're doing a week by week, you have all of this time to kind of like think and kind of just ponder upon all of these things, and so by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh, well, I figured out that Bernard was a robot in fucking episode 2. And so like, I had my problems with Season 1 and the end of Season 1, but I was like super fucking excited to go into Season 2. And I know that, like, the cool thing to do is, like, not like things, but I didn't like this first episode at all. I mean, there were parts of it that I really liked, but for the most part, it didn't quite seem like the same show. And I realized that, like, oh, well, Preston, they're not supposed to be, like, the same show, because now the androids have, consciousness. But I'm over here like, it didn't feel like the same show on a cinematic level. It didn't have those big sweeping shots and like one shots where it's like a big oneer all the way around it. it didn't really have those. And honestly, like, what I was thinking about the episode, Journey into Night, throughout the episode, I kept thinking, this looks really cheap. It looks very streamlined. It looks as though it's being made like any other television show, and that was my real problem with it.
Exactly.
I couldn't ever really get past the fact that it just seemed like television by numbers in the visual style of it. It didn't have that same kind of remarkability that season 1, especially those first few episodes, really had. Season 1 was a beautiful thing to watch. It was very well shot. It was very well choreographed. It was really lovely. The editing alone is like, oh, fucking kill my brain. But yeah, I didn't like Journey into Night, mostly because of the way that it actually looked. There again were moments that I liked. I liked the stuff between Maeve and Hector, and I liked the stuff between Maeve and Hector and Lee. I thought that was some fun stuff, but for the most part, I kept saying, what are we doing here? And I get that it's a fucking mystery box show. Like, I totally get that. Don't think that I'm a dum-dum. But it really did feel like, I don't know what it felt like. It didn't feel like Westworld. And again, I get it. It's like it's a whole new thing. Like the dinosaurs are out of the park, you know? And so I get all of that. I couldn't really get into all of that. And hopefully, like, the rest of the season will be, you know, better and all of that good stuff, but it just looked cheap. Like the little drone androids down in Charlotte's little bunker situation, which is a whole thing. Like, what the heck ever? Like, how does Delos need to sneak information out of the park when they've already sneaked entire underground bunkers into the park? How does that work? It doesn't make a shit ton of sense to me.
Looks like you've wasted my time.
But anyway, so the drone guys down in there, they looked cool, but when you watch them walking, you can see, like, especially, like, you know how there's, like, you know how, like, there's, like, a crease between your ass and your thigh? You could see that they were just men in suits, and that the crease wasn't form-fitting enough, and it looked like these suits were just hanging off of them. They looked cheap. It looked so bad. It's ridiculous. Like, I really was having a hard time with a lot of the stuff that they introduced. The drone guys, they just look super cheap. The brain fluid that Bernard is leaking, like, where was that in season 1? They just threw that in there, like, oh, well, maybe they should have some kind of special fluid. But we saw in season 1 that when they make the androids and they come out of the fucking milk bath or what the heck ever, that they inject them with this blood type stuff, and that's actually what gives their whole body, like, color and whatnot. No mention of this, like, whoop-de-doo clear fluid that you need to survive. The whole like thing of season 1 was the very organic nature of the androids and how they used to be all like, we are robots, blah blah fucking blah, and over time they found a way to kind of perfect that situation. And I thought that what was really interesting about that and intriguing about that was the idea that they are so very organic. They seem to have muscle tissue. They seem to have some kind of synthetic blood. We did this whole thing with Teddy and, what's his name? Elasso. What was his name? Anyway, Elasso. Where they had to, like, literally give Teddy a blood transfusion in order to keep him alive. And that made me go, oh, maybe they're, like, super more organic than we thought they were. Or maybe it's just, like, But then at the same time, it doesn't take you losing all of your blood as an android to die. Because we've seen androids, like, get shot through the head and stuff like this. And what I'm over here thinking is, we've seen androids get shot through the head and somehow, like, they're supposed to be hunky-dory, but we find out in this episode that they've got this, like, brain thingamabob in them, which makes, like, none of the sense to me. The fluid and the brain, like, chunk in their head, it just didn't make a shit ton of sense to me, and it really kind of negated everything that we had learned in season 1. Now, you could say, like, oh, like, well, Preston, don't you know that we're just seeing more levels to this whole thing? But it's like, no. Because if they have this in a central part that's, like, many of the guests are gonna shoot through, what's the fucking point? I don't understand. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
What are you doing?
And, like, with Dolores, I was really excited to see what Dolores is going to do with her, you know, freedom. And it's just exactly what you would think. And there's no real nuance to it, and there's no real thought to it. And I know that Dolores wants to, like, take over this world and then conquer the outside world and all that good stuff. But, like, again, we don't know what the outside world actually looks like. We don't know anything about this real world out there. And I don't know. I wasn't impressed with Dolores. I wasn't impressed with much going on in this episode. And for a show that's been gone for, like, almost a year and a half, I was really expecting them to come back with a bang and I would be all on board like it was in season 1, but I'm just not. I'm hopeful that it'll get better, but I really didn't care. The brain fluid stuff to me is not working for me. It doesn't make a shit ton of sense given what we've learned in season 1. I'm not here for it. I think it's a way to create stakes where we already had them. You know, and so again, even the storytelling seems a little cheap here. I'm trying to think about the things that I really enjoyed from this episode, but I can't. There were all these questions, but they weren't like fun questions. They were just kind of dumb. They're like, oh, why am I having to question this? It seems like we've already covered this ground. Like, spoiler alert, I just didn't like the episode very much at all. There were a few, like, really cool moments, and there were neat kind of like, ooh, pull the curtain back things, but for the most part it just seemed all set up and no real development for anybody. And again, I get it. It's the first episode. It's supposed to be just set up, but I really didn't feel like anybody had grown or developed or anything. And so I was unimpressed.
Grumble, grumble.
But I do have a theory. And so I'm pretty sure that my theory will be disproven, but at the same time, if they disprove my theory, it will only make me feel like my theory is even more valid. So, like, you have androids, and you have this whole place where androids go, or, like, people go to, like, visit the androids and, like, do what the heck ever. And the whole, like, thing about Westworld is, like, they're becoming conscious, right? So, my theory is that it's a meta-narrative. The hosts kind of going out of their loop seems kind of an inevitability. It seems like an inevitability that eventually they would grow into consciousness. And so my big theory about season 2 and Westworld in general is that the hosts aren't necessarily programmed to become conscious, but they can't deprogram them from gaining consciousness. And so what we're going to be seeing after their revolt and their, like, revolution is something that I think has happened before. I think it's another loop. I think it's a way for the free-thinking AI to feel free thinking and to feel like they are actually accomplishing something, but really it's just a deeper part of this maze, of this game, of this construct that they're in. I think that they've been afforded consciousness, if you will, but there is no getting out. There is no revolution. It's all just a way for the hosts to express themselves, but still be trapped and still be slaves. Like, even in their freedom, they are slaves because it's all been kind of handed down toward you. And the thing that really makes me think that is, like, if you're going to go to a theme park where you can be put into a fantastical story with all of these androids and whatnot, wouldn't you want to go to the theme park where the story is the androids are taking over? Like, that seems like a lot of fun. It seems like life or death. It's super scary. What the heck ever. And so I don't discredit the idea that they are in fact becoming consciousness, but I will say that I think that all of this extra is just that. It's just extra. It's a way to kind of pacify and satiate the hosts, because they do and probably have already come to this awareness, come to this cognizance, come to consciousness and a real sense of self, in the past and probably will again. And this is just a way for them to feel like they're free, when in reality, they never will be. Now, I had some other thoughts about the park and about how people go back and forth from the park. And I was thinking for a while, like, maybe what they do is they download your, like, consciousness or whatever, and actually put you into an android body that reads as human. And that's, like, what the train is. You know how there's, like, this train in and out of Westworld? Like, maybe that's your consciousness kind of getting used to being in your android body, and actually everyone who's in Westworld is actually, like, in an android body, but they're just meant to be read as human. Like, that was a whole thought that I was having, but the more I think about it, the more I think, nah, maybe not, because why would Charlotte be in such a state of distress or what the heck ever? So, like, I don't know. It's on my back burner, but it's really not a thing. I do, however, think that they are trapped within their sense of freedom. I think even if it's not right, it's awesome. Like, who could resist that?
Okay, that story makes a lot more sense now.
But anyway, Planet Earth, let me know what you thought of Westworld Season 2, Episode 1, Journey into Night, in the comment section down below. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, question. Do you agree with me on, like, the fluid and them having a brain function here, and the fact that it looks super cheap and the drone dudes just look like dudes in full body suits because you could see it, like, sagging off? Tell me. Or tell me I'm wrong. I don't really care. I'm so disappointed in it. That's what it is. I'm just disappointed. I had my hopes all up here, and now I'm like, okay, well, I guess we can get back up here.
Please help me.
But anyway, Planet Earth, I'm Preston L. Young, and you can come right back here to the Buffyngton Post for more Westworld reviews, Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers, and more. I just did my Giles Season 11, issue number 3 review the other day. You should check that out. It's a great book. Especially this issue was really, really good. And we will have the finale of Giles Season 11 next month, so stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for today, you guys. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Think of it as a game. A fun, funny game. Without all the rules, or any of the bothersome winning part. But still, there are sides. You have to choose a side.
My BFF Joe 730.